Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video, and welcome back to my TBR Advent Calendar. So my TBR Advent Calendar, my Vlogmas this year, is very kindly sponsored by Serious Readers, who make very cool reading lights like this one, which you'll probably see me using, or you will see me using later on in this video. I've also got a discount code on at the moment, and more information about them down below in the description. But on to today's TBR Advent Calendar book. I'm going to reach down and select a book from my TBR Advent Calendar, just the next one in the row. Here we go. It is Wild Boar by Hannah Lutz, translated from the Swedish, I think, by Andy Turner. Yes, I bought this back in September. I thought it sounded interesting. I haven't read very much translated from Swedish before. I think I've read one Swedish classic short story collection, but I don't think I've read anything like contemporary. It's quite interesting to have this back to back with The Wood at Midwinter, because this also has some illustrations in, and also presumably being called Wild Boar features a wild boar, and the last one featured a pig as one of the characters, so that's kind of fun. But yes, I'm looking forward to this one. I think this will be interesting. It's published by the Emma Press, who I really rate as a poetry publisher, but I haven't read any of their prose before. This is prose. It might be short stories, but it might be a book. It might be a novel. It's definitely a book, obviously. But we'll find out. So yeah, let me get on with reading this, and I will check in again in a minute. Hello again. I've now finished reading Wild Boar by Hannah Lutz, which, yeah, I enjoyed. I found slightly confusing in places, but I think it was meant to be. I think there was just quite a lot of ambiguity in it. I would say this is probably like more literary than my usual taste. And one thing I do sometimes find when I read something more literary is that there's a lot of ambiguity where I want certainty, but I think that's very much like a personal taste thing. So this is a novella, not a short story collection, although it basically consists of three very, very different narrative threads that kind of very slightly cross over, but not really. But it's basically about these three characters. Let me check the back of the book in case I forget her names. So we've got Ritva, Glenn and Mia, and the three of them are all in the forest of Smarland in Sweden. I think I've said Smarland wrong, but I can't find out online how to pronounce it. So anyway, so we're following these three characters in sort of three very, very separate stories, sort of a very short chapter at a time. The chapters are all sort of like 1 or 2 pages, maybe 3. Glenn lives in Smarland with his partner. Ritva has come to Smarland to look for the wild boar that live in the forests here, and that she really, really wants to see. But although everyone keeps talking about how the wild boar are everywhere, she never seems to be able to manage to see them. And then we're also following Mia, who has come with her elderly grandfather who went to school here, who is losing his memory and doesn't speak anymore. And she's kind of brought him here to kind of help him remember, and in the hope that it will make him talk again. And we're kind of following these three quite separate threads as a sort of setup, and then sort of things descend into more sort of chaos and abstraction, I suppose, later on in the book. So yeah, like I said, I think a bit too literary for my overall taste, but a really interesting read. Very atmospheric. I enjoyed it a lot. And I do think, like, whenever I read a literary fiction novel that I'm like, is too literary for my overall taste and wouldn't be a favourite, but it's only 100 pages, I do actually really enjoy it. Whereas I feel like with a much longer work of literary fiction, I tend to sort of lose patience. Whereas this was a really good length, and the chapters are all very, very short, and I read it, you know, in one sitting, more or less. And it was really interesting. So yes, a strange novel, but one I quite enjoyed. And that is all for today. So thank you very much for watching another day of my TBR Advent Calendar, and I'll be back tomorrow with another bookish video.